June 14, 2015. A quiet home in Springfield, Missouri hides a nightmare. It begins with a single Facebook post, 2 chilling sentences that no one can ignore. "That bitch is dead." At first, neighbors think it's a cruel joke. But when calls go unanswered and Dee Dee's car sits untouched in the driveway, unease spreads through the street. Friends gather outside the little pink house, knocking on the door, peering through the blinds, but inside, there is only silence. Then, the police arrive. When they break in, the air is heavy and still. Dee Dee Blanchard, the woman everyone knew as a devoted single mother, lies dead in her bed, stabbed repeatedly in a frenzied attack. And the daughter who was supposed to be terminally ill, confined to a wheelchair, too weak to even stand, is gone. The truth, when it finally comes out, is darker than anyone could have imagined. She was known as a fragile girl with the mind of a child and the body of a patient wasting away. Her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, was celebrated as a hero, a devoted parent who gave up everything to care for her sick daughter. But behind closed doors, nothing was what it seemed. Years of medical treatments, countless diagnoses, endless charity support, all built on a lie. So when Dee Dee was found murdered, the question wasn't just who killed her, but why. Was Gypsy Rose a cold-blooded killer who plotted her mother's death? Or was she a desperate victim, pushed to the edge by years of torment? Stay with me, because the truth of the Gypsy Rose case will leave you questioning who was really guilty, and who was trapped in a life they never chose. From the outside, the Blanchard household looked like a story of courage. Dee Dee, a single mother, devoted every waking moment to her daughter, Gypsy Rose. Gypsy appeared to suffer from leukemia, muscular dystrophy, epilepsy, severe asthma, even an allergy to sugar. By the time she was a teenager, she had the body of someone decades older. Frail, bald from chemotherapy, and confined to a wheelchair. Dee Dee told doctors Gypsy had the mental capacity of a 7-year-old. Yet her mother never left her side. She was seen as a selfless caregiver, praised at fundraisers, given free trips to Disney World, and even a new home built by Habitat for Humanity. But in reality, everything was part of an elaborate deception. Dee Dee was fabricating Gypsy's illnesses, exploiting her daughter to gain sympathy, attention, and financial support. A manipulation so convincing, even Gypsy herself began to believe she was gravely ill. But over time, cracks began to show in Dee Dee's carefully constructed story. Some doctors grew suspicious. Medical records didn't match her claims. Test results came back normal. And yet, Dee Dee always had an explanation, always another doctor to see, another treatment to try. Meanwhile, Gypsy was growing older, and restless. She secretly discovered she could walk short distances without pain. She realized she wasn't as fragile as she had been told. But Dee Dee's control was absolute. If Gypsy tried to assert herself, Dee Dee would threaten her, medicate her, or isolate her. Gypsy's world was carefully built to keep her dependent, trapped in a cycle of fear and obedience. So Gypsy sought freedom the only way she could, through the glow of a computer screen. In secret, she created online profiles, searching for connection, for someone who could save her from the prison of her own home. In 2012, Gypsy met a man online who would change everything, Nicholas Gojan. Nicholas lived in Wisconsin, a troubled young man with a history of mental illness and violent fantasies. But to Gypsy, he represented hope. Someone who saw her not as sick or broken, but as a woman. Their online conversations quickly spiraled into obsession. They role-played disturbing fantasies, built a secret world together, and whispered about the impossible, freedom from Dee Dee's control. Nicholas became Gypsy's escape, her only chance at a life beyond her mother's grip. But their love story would twist into something darker. Together, they began to imagine the unthinkable, a world where Dee Dee no longer existed. On the night of June 14, 2015, Gypsy opened the door to her boyfriend, Nicholas Gojan. Dee Dee was asleep in her bedroom, unaware her carefully built world was about to collapse. Gypsy handed Nicholas a knife and hid in the bathroom, covering her ears. What happened next was brutal. Nicholas crept into Dee Dee's room, and in a frenzy of rage, stabbed her 17 times. The woman who had controlled Gypsy's every breath was gone in minutes. But there was no triumph, no celebration, only silence, and the weight of what they had done. After the murder, Gypsy and Nicholas packed their belongings and fled to Wisconsin. But before they left, Gypsy did something that shocked everyone. She posted from her mother's Facebook account, "That bitch is dead." Neighbors, horrified, called the police. Within hours, Dee Dee's body was discovered, and the investigation began. Gypsy and Nicholas believed they had escaped. They were wrong. Police traced the posts to Wisconsin and arrested them just days later. The community that once pitted Gypsy Rose was now confronted with an impossible truth: the girl in the wheelchair could walk. And she had helped plan her mother's murder. The arrest of Gypsy Rose and Nicholas Gojon shocked the nation. But the real shock was yet to come. As investigators dug deeper, the carefully crafted story Dee Dee had told for years unraveled. Doctors revealed medical tests that showed Gypsy was healthy. Old records showed no trace of the illnesses Dee Dee claimed. Even Gypsy's birth certificate revealed her true age, years older than what her mother had always said. It became clear, Dee Dee had forced her daughter into a life of fabricated illness. A syndrome known as Munchausen by proxy, where a caregiver exaggerates or induces illness for attention and sympathy. In court, the story shifted. Gypsy wasn't just a suspect, she was a victim of extreme abuse. She had been manipulated, controlled, and poisoned with unnecessary medications for years. The jury saw Nicholas as the weapon, but Gypsy as the broken child behind it. Nicholas was sentenced to life in prison. Gypsy, in a stunning twist, received only 10 years. For the public, the case was no longer black and white. Some saw Gypsy as a cold conspirator. Others saw her as a desperate daughter, driven to murder to escape the prison her mother had built around her. After the trial, Gypsy Rose became more than just a name in a courtroom. She became a national obsession. Documentaries, news specials, even a dramatized TV series told her story, each framing her as either a manipulative killer or a tragic survivor. Public opinion was split. Some argued Gypsy deserved freedom after years of abuse. Others insisted that no matter her past, planning her mother's murder could not be excused. Inside prison, Gypsy adjusted to a new kind of life, one without her mother's control. For the first time, she could walk openly, eat what she wanted, and speak for herself. Paradoxically, prison offered her a kind of freedom she had never known. But the legacy of Dee Dee Blanchard lived on. A reminder of how far a parent's lies can go, and how blurred the line between victim and villain can truly become. Dee Dee's lies created a prison built from hospital walls and doctors' notes. Gypsy's desperate bid for freedom ended in blood. So was this justice, or just another tragedy? One thing is certain, the Gypsy Rose case forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes, monsters don't hide in the dark. Sometimes, they live in plain sight, smiling, caregiving, even loving, until the mask finally cracks. What do you think? Was Gypsy Rose a victim who finally escaped, or did she go too far? Let me know in the comments. And if you think this story was chilling, wait until you hear the next one. Hit subscribe, because the darkest crimes are still waiting in the shadows.